For Oasis Audio, I'm Wayne Shepherd. It's very exciting to have on the line with me Jeremie Kubicek, the author of Leadership is Dead, How Influence is Reviving It. Jeremie is president and CEO of Giant Impact based in Atlanta, and if you don't know what that is, I think you'll be pleased to learn the ways it can help you be an intentional and influential leader. Jeremie, pleasure to talk with you today.
Thank you, Wayne. Excited to be with you.
I do want to talk about Leadership is Dead, especially given that provocative title, but I also want those who are listening to get to know you. So let's start with Giant Impact. What is Giant and what is the purpose?
Yeah, our purpose as a company is very missional. We're trying to transform the leadership culture of America, which sounds really big, and it is really big. But when it really boils down, we help individual leaders and influencers become better leaders and influencers in their communities, in their organizations, in their families, and ultimately just to themselves. So we use events like the Chick-fil-A Leadercast and the Chick-fil-A Leader Tours. These are events that go on around the country, and the largest event in the United States is every May with about 100,000 leaders simulcasted around 600 locations. And then we use other brands like the Catalyst Movement, which is our brands of content, events, publishing, and so forth. It's a combination of resources, events, and experiences to help leaders.
Yeah, I have not clocked into the Leadercast, but I sure have heard all about it from lots of friends who have. It sounds very exciting. How long has that been going on?
Well, we've had a similar event for about 10 years, but the last 3 years, actually this will be the third year upcoming, with the Chick-fil-A partnership specifically. And it's so unique because it's an affordable, accessible experience that people can participate in and have people like Tony Blair's and the Jim Collins and Seth Godin's and people who normally wouldn't come to small-town America. We're able to provide an experience for every level in every community.
I keep wanting to jump ahead to talking about the book because there's so many good things in it, but I got to find out about you. Now, I know that you're married with children. Tell me about your family.
My wife, Kelly, she's amazing. We've been married almost 16 years. I have 3 kids, Addison, Will, and Kate, 13, 11, and 9. And, as you'll see in the book, in Chapter 2, I talk about it quite openly about an experience that I had and kind of a reprioritization that happened in my life and the way that I look at my wife and my kids. And they're obviously a major part of what I do. I think of my wife as a partner, a business partner.
All right, I'm not going to resist any longer then. Let's talk about that. You had really what you call a near-death experience.
That's right. It's really what it was. And it was an experience that has marked me, but it's really affected me in the way that I do business and lead people. It was a run-in with a hurricane and a drunk driver in Mexico, of all places.
How horrible.
Which is not the best place to be. And this specific Mexican hospital I was in, it almost reminded me as if I went back in time to the 1950s. And so spending my all-inclusive vacation happened to be all-inclusive in that hospital.
Well, the details of that are in this book that people are going to read or listen to, and they'll get to that. But, I mean, how did that change your life?
Well, it affected me in that I had an opportunity. Most of us don't have the opportunity to get to the end of your life and to reevaluate at that moment. And when they say that your life flashes before your eyes, it's true. For me, I get to see my life flash before my eyes, and to have an opportunity to reevaluate that and come out of that and stay alive, become alive. Well, it wasn't just my life; it was my leadership and the way that I led employees and people. And so all of a sudden, I get back on my feet, and relationships become far more important than they ever were before. I was a little bit more transactional oriented, and purpose of what you're living for and what you do business for changed, and style of the way I partner with people changed. So all those things affected me when I was 30, and over the course of this almost 10 years, this book has kind of come alive throughout all those experiences and learning how to take these new changed motives and work them out into a tangible leadership style.
Well, I'm sure sorry you had to go through what you went through, but the rest of us are sure benefiting from it as you did. There's no question about that. You put in your bio that you like to write and speak and read, and most people put that kind of thing in their bio. But you say I like to create new concepts. Now, how do you sit around and create new concepts?
Well, I think it's the way you're wired, right? There's a God-given talent to each one of us, and the way that mine was is that I'm a creative. I'm a creative, and I'm a connector, and so I connect ideas, and it's almost like. Truly, some days it's like a plague where it can drive you nuts because your shower time and your sleep time and all those things get affected by just these ideas that brew. And almost like a mad scientist, hopefully people don't think I am, but my wife probably does some days. But what happens is these ideas come together in my mind, and they're like a puzzle piece or a connected dot, and it's like, well, that fits here, and that fits here, and this connects here, and before too long, we ended up with something where the world goes, oh my goodness, yes, I've never seen anything like that, and that's just the way that I'm wired, and the way that and it can, if not managed well, I can drive my people crazy in their office, and so I've tried to create a system to help rein me in and maybe put some fence rows up so that I'm focused and. So.
You're running ahead of me here because that was my question precisely. It's one thing to have all these ideas, but what do you do with them once you have them, and how do you use them to benefit other people?
Well, I think that's the kicker is that it's a goal to be relevant. I don't mean relevant like cool, but I mean practical, and that's kind of our DNA of our company. Very much, we have the saying that we don't create anything that we wouldn't want to go to. Or wouldn't want to try ourselves, and so I think that's the part. Like it's almost like it's our own expectations. If it's not good enough, or it's not functional enough, or it's too feel schlocky, or whatever, all those thoughts come to mind. And so when we produce something, we're driven by our mission, which is again, does it help people transform the leadership culture, the style of leadership, and then secondly, is it something that I would buy or pay for? And that's why we focus on trying to be accessible and affordable.
All right, back to the title of this book, Leadership is Dead. That's the main title, but that means leadership is dead if it's about me, right? If it's all about me.
That's right. Every one of us, our leadership is either dead or alive today. And it's dead when it's completely focused on preserving and protecting our own wealth, our own status, our own authority, our own power. It comes alive when it's truly about liberating others and empowering others, and it's truly focused on giving yourself away. And I've just found that there's a secret to leadership that says when it's all about you, you don't have followers. When you truly give yourself away, then you truly are a leader. And I think that we have a dilemma in this culture in that most of our leadership is dead because most of the individuals inside them, their leadership is dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeremie, as I do this interview with you, I'm in a studio and people are walking by the window here, lots of people in the organization. I'm just wondering, I'm one member of a team here. How do I exert influence when they all have their responsibilities and, where do I fit in being an influencer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I start in the book, I really spend a lot of time with the concept of you have to know yourself to lead yourself. You have to know others to lead others. Most people like to instantly go to lead others or try to influence others. The problem with that is if we don't truly know ourselves and our own limitations, our own self-preservation, then we're really truly not becoming a self-aware leader. And I've seen a lot of abuse of influence because the focus has been on an agenda of either preserving something or trying to manipulate to overpower people. So I like to start with the concept of to know yourself first. So for me, I know that I have to be careful about getting too emotional, or sometimes I'm passionate. Well, that can be good and bad. So to know that enables me to then know how to handle myself or lead myself. Well, if the same way, if I know the people, if I know those that I'm working with, and they know that I know them, then they're going to give me a little bit more grace and a little bit more room to influence them.
Mm-hmm.
So influence is earned. It's not just by title. It's not
Good.
just by authority.
I like that a lot, and they're going to be more receptive to your ideas if you've earned that trust, too.
and if they know that you know them.
How does this fit into the culture of an organization that, organizations are sometimes slow to change? And, if you're a catalyst, so to speak, and I like that word a lot, where does this fit in?
Well, every organization has the same issues as individuals. The leadership culture in an organization can be dead or it can be alive. And so the same premise is, what is the culture and how does it allow people? Does it liberate people to be the best they can be, or does it dominate people to get things done because of the short-term pressures of the organization? A very transactional approach versus relational approach.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do I need to be a person of position in a company to be a creative leader in a company?
No, not at all. In fact, that's why I focus on influence. When I say leadership is dead, the concept of leadership is so overused in some cases and so trite, but it's also so misunderstood because people go, well, I'm not the boss, so therefore I'm not a leader. And that's why I bring the focus on influence. It says every one of us can influence. So if our sphere of influence is, how do I influence my boss? How do I influence my coworkers? How do I influence those that I lead? And influence is a different game. It's again, most people think of leadership as if it's by title and authority, whereas influence can be your family. I mean, it's every one of us.
Do you find that people are hungry for this message?
Very much so. What I love about it is the fact that leadership is dead, and a lot of people will go, yep, I've been saying that for years. and that's okay, but I'm not here to judge other people. I'm actually asking questions so that you can judge yourself and get to the point where what happens is, I think when they get to chapter 4, they start realizing, oh my goodness, that's the hook of the book. It's on self-preservation. And when you start looking at your self-preservation, it starts to affect the way you think about yourself and others.
Well, I heartily encourage people to dig into this book deeply. But as you warn in the last chapter, when we do, there's still some stale thinking that's going to prevent us from taking action on what we learn.
Well, and it goes, the last chapter is why you probably won't do this. And the reality is that it's really, really hard to lead ourselves and to change ourselves or to create change that will make us better influencers and better leaders. And the reason it is because we're indoctrinated and we have so much life experience and so forth. But it's the willingness, and I think that's what I'm trying to get people to do is, you might have the character and you may have the competence to be a good worker and a good leader or a good person, but do you have the willingness to influence and impact people even if there's no reward for you? And that willingness typically runs right into their wall of self-preservation and the protecting of their status or reputation or salary or office or whatever it is. So I find that it's so difficult because it's really changing your lifestyle and the way that you think and the way that you live and lead.
Some of those self-preservation things are so ingrained in us that they're subconscious, aren't they? Yeah,
and again, it's funny because self-preservation is not bad. I mean, it's okay to protect and preserve your family and your bank account and your home. That's not the case except when we become fixated on it and it becomes the dominant thinking or focus of all of our energy, and we begin to overprotect what we're afraid of losing. And that's what I always bring up. You know your self-preservation by answering the question, what are you afraid of losing? And when you realize that, that's actually the first step to overcoming and becoming an influencer.
All right, let me come back to something, because as you described yourself, you talked about all these ideas that come all the time, and you have to make sure you channel them and treat them with respect and treat others with respect. How do you keep yourself thinking fresh? How do you prevent yourself from growing stale?
Well, and that's what I bring up is that leadership becomes mediocre. Part of it is actually in checking motives. So when I create something, I have a natural, intuitive question that I don't think I've never been asked that question, so it's just popping into my head. It is that my motive, the motive check is, why am I doing this? Why do I want to create it? So because our mission is so strong, it typically, that's the filter. so it's not typically just for myself and so forth. So there is a motivation of creating things for other people to help them.
Right.
And when you're motivated to helping people, that really is really fun. I mean, it kind of drives you. Then there's just the creative for creative sake, and I have a little process that I, again, intuitively do where I use magazines and books and people, and I have about 2 or 3 sessions a year where I just kind of go into this like dream mode, and I come up with things and tear things, and some of them I have a little file that's just for future file, and some of it I'm like, there's something there, I don't know what it is, but I put it in the file, and then I drag it out and go, oh my goodness, yes, it's time for that now.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, but that takes discipline because, you know, when you get a great idea, you don't want to just sit on it sometimes.
Yeah, the discipline for me, though, is I'm not very formal. The discipline has kind of become part of my, like I'm okay if things slip, you know, ideas slip, because my thought is the best ideas, they won't leave me. Okay. They stay in my mind.
Part of staying fresh is making sure that workaholism doesn't enter into the picture there. How do you balance life?
You know, for me, and people can disagree with this comment, balance is priorities, and so the accident, for instance, it changed my priorities. But if I had to say what I was spending most of my time on, it was almost proving that I deserved to be in the roles that I was in. So I was a workaholic, not for the work itself, but in the protection of me and preservation of me. If you eliminate the self-preservation, then your workaholism goes down dramatically. So, for instance, I go home, you know, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, but at home I'll work. But that work, and my wife and I, you know, we'll sit down and we'll watch something, and I'm writing. Well, that's not work at that point, because I'm not doing it for me as much as I'm doing it for other people. So it's almost like I don't really like the concept of balance, because people think, well, I have to shut off here and shut. More of reprioritizing your motive.
I get that.
And when your motives are right, then your time, it looks different.
You have really stirred some things in my own life, and I'm sure as people listen and read this book, they're going to be stirred as well. Leadership is Dead, How Influence is Reviving It. It's a provocative read, and Jeremie, I thank you for your time today. What do you do for fun?
We love to travel. I like Jimmy Stewart on It's Wonderful Life. I love planes, you know, and trains and ships and all that. So I travel quite a bit and have experiences with my family and kids and friends.
But you didn't get tethered to the building and loan, did you?
No, I didn't. I hope I'm not. But that's a part of it. And then, you know, there's just the act of friendships. Just going to lunch today with a couple of guys that are just great friends. But that's so rewarding for me. And so then I like to write music, and I like to help people with strategic things. And so it's always staying in the creative mode. That's life-giving to me.
Great. You used a word earlier, a connector, and I like that word a lot. It comes up in your book as well. It's a great way to put it. Jeremie, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wayne.
Jeremie Kubicek, who is the author of Leadership is Dead, How Influence is Reviving It, now available as an audiobook. And for Oasis Audio, I'm Wayne Shepherd.